probably time to go ahead and move into the fantasy discussion, aka the thing that we enjoy talking about that doesn't make the blood get overly boiling all the time, unless of course either of you doubt me in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, or
I'm
disagree.
definitely here
Yeah,
for the disagreements. So I mean, the question I think always comes down every year of like, who are the fantasy players to avoid? And I think this year it's every single player on the Washington professional football team, because they're going to sit out a few games until.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I would not be surprised if they protest. Which is great. I think the players should absolutely exercise the power that they have over the team to make money and do stuff. And also because that eliminates one entire team that I have to draft from come fantasy season.
No amount of Dwayne Haskins
pretty decent last year. Yeah,
that's right. Let's just hope he gets traded or something.
It's going to suck to not be able to pick up Scary Terry, but at the very least, you don't need to worry. It's like, oh, do I pick up Scary Terry? Or it's like, no, just don't pick him up. He's not going to play.
Yeah.
Like if I'm in a league with a bunch of Gabes and no one's drafting the Redskins players, I'm taking Scary Terry in the 16th round or whatever.
I mean,
that's the thing is, you make him a late round. You pick him up as a wide receiver 4 option. And then he plays, he's your WR2, you're good to go.
I think a real issue when we're talking about like, the idea of wokeness or like not drafting based on protest would be interesting, because I wonder how Gabe would feel about like the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill is sitting there like in the 4th round.
Right. To be fair, this is the level of commitment I have. I burned a roster spot for Colin Kaepernick for an entire season.
Oh wow! But you didn't start him for a game, just like those goddamn owners didn't.
Look, man. This is called liberal platitudes. But there's still money on the line. I still need a quarterback.
I'm just picturing Gabe frantically doing research, like how to be a good ally. How many Native American tribes have expressed their approval of the Kansas City Chiefs? What is their polling at this rate among the various organizations? Look,
man, God. It's like that is the beauty of neoliberal capitalism, right? It's like you gotta make sure you protect the profit margins and be a good ally. Well, you got to have your finger on the pulse,
Exactly. And if we are going to be keeping our finger on the pulse here, there was an interesting article released earlier today that talked about the 9 must-avoid fantasy football players, aka these are people who you certainly don't want to reach up for, don't even necessarily want to draft based on what their estimate is, but instead are wanting to go with just wait for them to fall and continue falling, and then maybe take a look at them. So I'll read off the list, and then I figure we can each kind of just pick one and then talk about it for a little bit, if that makes sense. Okay, y'all?
Perfect.
Great.
Sounds good.
So number 1, we have Devin Singletary, then Raheem Mostert, then A.J. Brown, then Darius Geis, and then we have Odell Beckham Jr., followed by Devontae Parker, then Melvin Gordon, Evan Ingram, and wrapping up the list is Todd Gurley. Do we have any immediate disagreements, or is there any name, like, who wants to talk about which player on the list? I'll let y'all go first because I'm a gracious and benevolent host.
I really feel like, wait, you said Evan Ingram?
Evan Ingram, that's correct.
Okay. Oh yeah. Because of injury, or
yes,
what kind of
is the listing. Is that
okay.
He is also listed as tight end 7 on various draft boards. And he's going 72 overall at the moment, and especially considering his injury history, and he's coming off of a foot surgery from December. Don't really know if you like him at his current ADP at this point.
He's young though, and if him and Daniel Jones play 16 games together,
that could be true. That could be, a real magic point. What was that one wide receiver on the Giants who had like one breakout game? Everyone tried to add him to their benches, and then
it was like Slay or something.
Yeah. Or no, not Slay is
I thought it was
cornerback.
Slay. I know. That's what I thought too. But I'm pretty sure they're both Slay.
It's fine. It's whatever. I'm sure we could easily
look it up.
It's
Slayton.
Okay, there we go. That makes
something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, he got I started in 1 week and he got me like 40 points.
There we go.
But that's gonna be his upside is huge. His floor is so very, very low.
Right. No, it's definitely like you're sitting here and you're pulling the lever
This has Evan Ingram being listed at ADP at 72. So if you've gone 6 rounds, I guess, or you're 6.5 rounds in, Evan Ingram is still on the board. Are you gonna draft him, Mitch?
So here's what I'm saying. If like all the if you're not going for a tight end within the first 5 rounds, and Evan Ingram's there when you should be taking a tight end, I wouldn't shy away from that.
I think that's a good option.
Well, I mean, especially when we have to think about with him looking at like what the tight end rankings are. It's Kelsey, Kittle at the top, then Ertz, I guess, and
Ertz.
Mark Andrews, I would probably put him up there.
Yes,
until I get proven wrong.
Right.
And then
the bottom line is, I mean, I think to cut to your point, Kelton, is that at most we have 5 or 6 playable tight ends,
and these are all very high use guys as well. Yeah, they're just as likely to get injured as anyone else.
Yeah, let's not forget that George Kittle's nickname was George Brittle. The idea of him being healthy is more of a rarity than I think we're giving it credit for here.
I mean, so if you haven't picked, so if say you're 6.5 rounds in or in the middle of the 7th round, I'd pick him up. I mean, if you don't have a tight end yet, I don't know what you're doing. Like you need to be. I think ultimately, like if you're going to draft a tight end, like in the top, I'm going to say 5 to be safe.
Yeah.
Then you probably need to take a tight end like after your RB. I mean, even a running back and wide receiver is like.
Well, here let's look at it from a different perspective. This might be more interesting. All right, I'm going to read the person above Evan Ingram and the person below, and then you tell me which of the 3 you would rather have. Okay, Darren Waller, Evan Ingram, or Hunter Henry.
Ooh, that's a good group, man.
Can we just run in a league with no tight ends? Is that an option?
No, I'm taking Darren Waller in that group. I mean,
really,
if Derek Carr is starting for the Raiders, someone has to catch passes. Who is it going to be? They don't have any wide receivers.
Didn't they just draft
last year?
Didn't they just draft Ruggs?
Yeah, they drafted Ruggs. They drafted the wrong Alabama wide receiver. Roger Goodell went up there and thought they were drafting Jerry Jeudy.
I mean, I think I would probably go with Hunter Henry. Like, main reason being is that like his upside, like when he came back and he was healthy. Granted, when he was healthy is like the biggest caveat in the world.
Yeah, and talk about health injury.
I mean, let's generally like when he's healthy is never a good phrase to follow a fantasy player.
And Hunter Henry's quarterback is either going to be Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert.
That's right. Young quarterback looking for a safety valve or captain checkdown. I agree. Thank you, Mitch.
But have you been watching this Chargers offensive line? Because Philip Rivers left because he's 100 years old and they can't block anyway.
Yeah.
So you got to be. I'm sold. I'm sold. Like that's. I'm gonna take Henry in the first round. Like,
oh wow.
No, I mean, I think that is a
I guess
fair
if you
point.
use my own argument against me that someone has to catch passes, but I feel like the Giants are a higher quality team in general than the Chargers at this point.
Yeah,
as far as offense goes,
I am going to have to really look and see like what Hunter Henry looks like in a check down offense, because I mean, so much of like his play potential was getting like 15 yards because he was,
and
just
they just
playing
paid
off
Austin Eckler. and that's who the offense has been going through.
Valid points here. All right, Evan Ingram. Hey, buddy. Hey, pal. Hey, old friend.
But hey, I will take Darren Waller over Evan Ingram. Like, that's a no-brainer to me.
Oh my God.
I think Devin Waller. I think that's not a bad choice. It's not a great choice.
So, out of the listing on your end, Gabe, who stuck out that you wanted to talk about?
I think Odell Beckham Jr. is the one that is. I think he's not a must avoid. He's a gamble and win, or gamble and burn a roster spot kind of situation.
Now, I think he's currently listed as wide receiver 10. He is 28th overall is his spot, and he's benched between Amari Cooper and AJ Brown.
So I would here's the thing is I would take Amari Cooper over either of those one, but of course, like I think that's the easy thing. But here's what Odell Beckham Jr. is: if he gets the trade, if he gets out of Cleveland, and I mean that becomes the big thing is like if you are willing to burn a roster spot and pass up somebody like Amari Cooper, I wouldn't pass up anybody.
So you have no faith in Baker Mayfield, is what you're saying?
No. Why would I?
I mean, because he played well. He didn't last year.
When?
He has played well.
Oh yeah, sure. He has played well at some point in time. So
that was how many State Farm commercials ago, Mitch?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yes. No, last year was terrible. It was like, but he had a coach that had no idea what he was doing. He had no guidance. The sophomore slump is real in the NFL.
So, all right. So that is why I think Odell Beckham Jr. is a gamble, right? Okay. And I think if you are willing to take the risk, if you are comfortable with the risk, go for it. Like pick up Odell Beckham Jr. And it may pay off. It's 10
and 28 sounds too high for me.
Are y'all ready for I think what could be like the ultimate in a hot take? Meaning it will probably be wrong, but if I'm right, we can pin it to the board as
let's hear it
being accurate. Okay, so Stefanski's going to come in. He's going to institute the Minnesota style offense, right? That means you need a strong running game. So Chubb is Cook, right? And then that means you need a strong 1-2 wide receiver tandem with a power tight end. And I think Rudolph and Njoku really match. And I think that Odell Beckham Jr. and Stephon Diggs are much closer.
So they actually don't. I don't think they have Njoku anymore. They signed Austin Hooper in the offseason.
Oh, I could have sworn they had that, but very good point. Even more to it, even of Hooper playing in that Rudolph role. That would mean that the most valuable player in that style of an offense is the Adam Thielen role, and that means Jarvis Landry is
just like he was last season.
Yeah, I mean, but like currently, I'm looking at him on boards right now. He is the 29th wide receiver being taken.
Way more value in Jarvis Landry than Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so that's my main caveat with Odell Beckham is that if you're looking at maybe even comparable production, especially if in PPR of Jarvis Landry, you could just wait another 3 rounds and scoop him up. That's my main issue with Odell Beckham. Is that if you're believing because of the offense, because of a rebound, Jarvis Landry hits all of those exact same spot points.
Absolutely. Fair. I agree.
But yeah, again, that could also be legitimately me being a crazy madman for saying that Jarvis Landry.
I love value players like Jarvis Landry and Darren Waller, but my thing is sometimes I get too caught up in the idea of having value players.
Oh yeah.
I don't get any of the home run hitters in the first rounds. Like, that's something you have to watch out for. Like, get your home run hitters early, and then like if you can get someone like Jarvis Landry in the 4th round, 5th round, hell yeah. Yeah. You can get someone like Darren Waller in the 7th round, hell yeah. Like,
exactly. I mean, so here's a legitimate question to both of you, and is how do y'all draft? Like, how do you fill your roster?
I draft different every year, so I'm an awful person. when it comes to this. I mean, because I don't usually have like a draft home, if you will. Like I'm always kind of like joining like a buddy's work league, or I'm with a couple of friends and stuff, but then we're part of like a larger group as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I'm not able to go, well, I know this guy's a Patriots fan and I know this guy really loves quarterbacks, and so I'm able to kind of game theory it a little bit. But my in general philosophy is running backs are incredibly replaceable, and that tight ends are the most undervalued. And so, like, I will reach up to get a quality tight end because I believe the gulf between like a true tier 1 tight end and a tier 2 tight end is much larger than the gulf between a low tier 1 wide receiver and a high tier 2 wide receiver.
I would absolutely agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, that's me.
I subscribe to that method a lot, but unless I can get one of like the top 3 running backs. Because usually if you can get a top 3 running back, then that's like the game changer.
Yeah. But then here's the point here. At this point last year, we would be arguing about why Kamara is a much better value than McCaffrey.
No, absolutely. I made that mistake. I passed on McCaffrey in 2 different drafts, so I made that mistake.
That's the thing that like will haunt me. Versus like I'm much more comfortable picking up a running back in like the 4th round. Because if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I have 6 other running backs I can pick from.
They are always injured. Yeah. Someone else will come, But I feel like wide receivers are the same way. So maybe you have a point with tight ends because the tight end is so limited. Like there's only going to be 5 of them that play well for the entire season, and that can really make a difference if you could. But then you're in this like exchange game with your roster. You're constantly like it's like you're dedicated at that point. That's why I take more of a balanced approach.
I mean, and I think that's right. I think that's probably a good point as to what you got to do. Speaking about running backs, my pick, the name that stuck out to me the most was Todd Gurley. He's consensus ranked at 30th overall, running back 14, and I think that is way too high. I think that is people really trusting the Atlanta offense, especially when you compare. The 2 running backs he is between are Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Kansas City, who I get is a rookie, but he'll be splitting time with Damian Williams on a high-touch offense. And then you have Chris Carson, a.k.a. the bell cow back of Seattle, and that's what he's sandwiched between. Versus Le'Veon Bell is 10 spots lower, and he's sandwiched between David Montgomery and Raheem Mostert. I would much rather have Le'Veon Bell than I would have Todd Gurley. Like,
especially in a PPR league. I mean,
yeah. And I could be wrong. Todd Gurley could go great, but I would rather be wrong about Gurley than because I missed out on him than because I drafted him. If that makes sense.
So I think where he's placed is right, because the Atlanta offense has potential to be high powered and score a lot of points, and he could get a lot of those points. But the Atlanta offense also has the potential to fall fate to their defense, just like they have been doing since they made the Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't really trust anyone on Atlanta, probably beyond Ryan and Ridley at this point. I could be wrong. Watch as Hayden Hurst becomes like the
you don't
god.
Trust Julio?
Julio, he is great. Like if I'm in the second half of the first round and Julio Jones is there, absolutely I will take him. But like he always has this like weird quirk. What was it, like 2 years ago, where like it's week 11 and Julio Jones still hasn't caught a touchdown pass?
Yeah.
It's those things that then really drive me up a wall with him. And that's not his fault. I think in terms of like underrated players, that when a list gets made, Julio Jones will probably go down as that, just because of being like this god tier player that has just the worst luck of teams being up 25 points. Not going to go into
not being able to throw a touchdown in the red zone is their issue.
Yeah. I mean,
for whatever reason, they just can't seem to do it.
what was that stat where it's just like, if they were at the 15, statistically, it would almost be better for them to take like a 30-yard sack for Julio Jones's touchdown percentage.
Wow.
It was just, I mean, it was so fucked up for him. But I mean, I really think that Todd Gurley in my head is too high. I think running backs though are across the board with what's happening here. We have McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott, then Henry, Kamara, Cook, Mixon, Chubb, Jacobs, then Jones, Drake, Miles Sanders is listed at 12th overall, and
that seems a little. I mean,
bullish.
But
he should
be. He should be above. He should be above Gurley. I agree with that.
Yeah, I would move everyone a little bit down. Is my
I don't know. I am saying Josh Jacobs number 3 overall for the season.
Wow,
that is my prediction.
You are going hard on the Raiders. So and yet you won't draft Darren Waller. Explain to me what happened.
Because Josh Jacobs is as far as most teams go, he is going to be the bell cow back. He was last year.
Can he catch? If he can't catch,
so he started catching at the end of last season, which was great. And I think he's only going to get better. And I think he's going to catch more passes. And I think a lot of people are going to undervalue Jacobs because they aren't sure that he can catch. And he's going to come out, and I'm going to say this, 14 receptions per game, 198 yards total.
It's a little aggressive.
14 receptions per game?
I liked where you were going before that.
Yeah. I mean, I might take the under on that, but like
here's like a real fucked up thing. I would almost go closer with 14 touches a game. That would be a more interesting over under. Just because I mean,
I think that's probably the correct is the correct take.
Gruden, I think in a weird way. What's his history with running backs? Do we know? Does he run them into the dirt and then cut them loose?
I mean, he ran Josh Jacobs pretty hard last season. He was dealing with a shoulder injury almost the whole season, but he got his magical football juice before every game and still played. So
and can't wait for that inevitable 4-game suspension to hit. So how many people do you think are going to like take steroids and just be like, I thought it was a way to prevent coronavirus. I'm sorry, NFL.
Hopefully all of them.
Yeah. God.
I mean, I actually think with the amount of anti-inflammatories that NFL players take, they might actually get away from COVID-19. Because, right, isn't COVID-19 the whole thing is it causes this insane inflammation response?
Yep.
Right, and these guys are on like insane anti-inflammatories. And that's what I call the football juice.
Yeah.
Like that's the pre-game football juice. Is they give you that anti-inflammatory injection.
All of them,
which may also be a cocktail of like horse steroids and other things like that. But like know,
just the best tranquilizers is what they keep on wanting to put these people on here. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of our thoughts on fantasy. So obviously, if people have any opinions on it or they want to hold us accountable, please feel free and do so. But in the meantime, the